And he's a very nice guy. You say that.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very, he doesn't mind being alone, but he's somebody that gets along with people.
The most reclusive and mysterious son of Donald Trump, Barron Trump, finally broke down in public, crying for the first time. The whole country was taken aback by the unmistakable grief in his eyes as he coughed out words. What had made Barron Trump cry? For what amount of time had he kept this a secret? Given that the Trump family was still embroiled in controversy, the most pressing question was whether this was the final chapter of a formidable legacy. Washington, D.C. shone in the unusual winter sunshine on January 20th, 2025. In the midst of a historic day, stress and excitement filled the air. Inaugurating for a second term, Donald Trump, the 45th and now 47th President of the U.S., took the stage. His keen eyes darted across the assembled multitude. On that particular day, though, millions of eyes were suddenly drawn to a towering, motionless figure behind him rather than to him. Barron Trump, the youngest son, often shrouded in secrecy inside the powerful family, made an undeniable entrance for the first time. As a child, Barron Trump was shielded from the limelight by his mother, Melania Trump, a woman of elegant beauty and reserved nature. He did not attend his father's rowdy campaign rallies, did not stand on stage to wave to enthusiastic crowds, and did not make an impression on social media like his older siblings. At nearly 6 feet 7 inches tall, with broad shoulders and deep-set eyes that appeared to conceal an ocean of secrets, the young man towered over his father. However, on the day of his inauguration, something was amiss. The cameras captured a brief moment of him standing silently by his mother, his deep blue eyes reflecting an unexplainable light. Rumors quickly circulated that Barron Trump had sobbed, not on stage, not in front of the cameras, but in a private moment as he stepped away from the limelight with his family backstage. The story started with an unnamed witness who said they saw Barron sobbing into a tissue as he spoke to his mother in a quiet corner of the event. Barron seemed to be trying to hold back something. The witness told a tabloid what happened next, and the story took off. Some said it was just the normal reaction of an 18-year-old seeing his father reassert his power. But others whispered that behind those tears was immense pressure, something only members of the Trump family could comprehend. Melania Trump, who had always been there for her youngest son, once said in an interview that Barron was a great young man, smarter than he looked, and stronger than he was. That comment was more than just a mother's pride. It was a hint that Barron was getting ready for something bigger. He wasn't just the boy who had briefly appeared in family photos at the White House or the teen who had silently entered New York University in the fall of 2024. With his towering stature and collected demeanor, he appeared ready to leave his father's shadow, though he still preferred to remain silent. But being silent didn't mean he was invisible. One article characterized Barron as an old soul, a term that naturally made people wonder if he harbored deep thoughts that nobody knew about. In the Trump family, where all eyes were on power and glamour, Barron stood as an enigma. His appearance at the inauguration was the center of attention that day because of this mystery. As Donald Trump took the oath, his words resonating through the speakers, Barron stood tall and reflective, dressed in a sharp black suit with neatly styled blonde hair. Some saw him as proud, while others saw him as anxious. Rumors of tears started circulating, and people started to wonder what had driven Barron Trump, the young man his mother had shielded from all attention, to reveal such emotion on such a momentous occasion. Was he feeling the burden of his family's legacy, or was he hiding a deeper secret that everyone was privy to? What happened backstage at the inauguration was just the beginning of the story. Barron Trump, with his serene exterior and deep inner world, seemed to be starting a journey whose end he did not yet know. The tears, whether genuine or fabricated, marked a turning point. People started to see him as more than just Trump's youngest son. He became a central figure in his own story. As the inauguration ceremony's lights went down, Barron Trump, the silent son, officially emerged, not with pomp and circumstance, but enough to turn heads. The towering young man with the striking features of a deep-set eye and blonde hair, Barron Trump, was no longer confined to the background at his father's inauguration. Rumors began to circulate in dorm rooms, online, and in sensational newspapers, with one outlet claiming that Barron had sobbed away from the spotlight and the crowds in the privacy of a conversation with a friend at New York University, where he had only recently started his academic career in the fall of 2024. The story originated on a late afternoon as the setting sun cast a golden hue over the cobblestone streets around Washington Square Park. Barron, with his characteristic composed demeanor, was reportedly sitting in a quiet corner of the Bobst Library, a place he frequented to avoid attention. A witness, possibly a classmate or just a curious student, recounted that he had his head bowed, his long hands clasped together, and his voice trembled as he mentioned his father, Donald Trump. He said something about him, but it wasn't clear. Then suddenly the young man cried, not loudly or dramatically, just silent tears rolling down his cheeks. The rumor quickly ignited, spreading from student chat groups to online forums and then flooding X, formerly Twitter, with a torrent of speculation. What had gone wrong with Barron, the normally composed young man, to let his emotions get the best of him? There was no proof, but the public's imagination ran wild. Rumors started circulating that Barron had spilled the beans about his father. Some said he mentioned Donald Trump's health, that the 78-year-old president might be dealing with undisclosed health issues despite his robust appearance on the inaugural platform. Others said Barron hinted at his father's political future, that Trump was secretly planning something even grander than this second term. However, none of this was proven. All that existed was an image of Barron with red-rimmed glasses and speculation. In an old interview, Donald Trump had spoken of his youngest son with a tone of both pride and surprise, remarking that Barron had never had a girlfriend and preferred to be alone. These words were not just passing remarks. They were like a door slightly ajar into Barron's inner world. At 18, when most of his peers were enjoying parties or early romantic relationships, Barron chose a secluded life. He did not appear in boisterous selfies, nor did he join prominent clubs at NYU. Instead, he was often seen alone, walking the snow-covered streets with his long coat billowing in the wind, like a solitary figure amidst the bustling crowds. But was this solitude a choice or the consequence of an invisible burden? Many began to believe that Barron was struggling internally between two paths, living a normal life like any other student, or shouldering the responsibility of the Trump legacy, an empire built on power, money, and endless controversy. His father, Donald Trump, was a symbol of resilience and ambition, but also a man who placed immense expectations on his children. Barron, with the intelligence and strength his mother had lauded, seemed unable to escape that shadow. The tears at NYU, if genuine, could have been the moment he confronted the truth that he was not just a student, but part of a larger narrative he was not sure he wanted to continue writing. The world waited breathlessly, months after Donald Trump's second inauguration, as a tornado of rumors swirled through social media. Barron Trump, an 18-year-old with a reserved personality and intense blue eyes, became the center of a story so dramatic that few dared to believe it was real. It started with a post on X, which Reuters later confirmed as a falsehood, shocking millions. During a meeting at NYU, Barron was seen sobbing uncontrollably. In that rare moment of emotional outburst, he stood amidst a crowd of students. His voice trembled yet remained resolute as he was said to have mentioned Elon Musk, the tech billionaire reportedly working closely with Donald Trump on Project Doge, an ambitious initiative aimed at restructuring the American government. "Elon understands my father better than anyone," Barron was rumored to have said. According to the fabricators of the rumor, he was the only one who could help his father complete what he had started. But what truly astonished everyone was the next part. With red-rimmed eyes and a tear-streaked face, he hinted at a major announcement regarding Donald Trump, a secret that could alter the world's perception of the sea. Despite the post on X being a total fabrication, it sparked wild speculations. Some thought Barron was crying because his father was pressuring him to run for president again in 2028, an idea that went far beyond the usual political boundaries. The 47th president, at 78 years old, still kept a forceful and uncompromising demeanor, but rumors about his health began to circulate. Others speculated that Barron, being sensitive and intelligent, was struggling with the idea that his father would never step aside, or maybe he actually supported the plan, prepared to stand behind his father to continue the Trump legacy, even if it meant giving up the normal life he had longed for at NYU. In the meantime, Fox News had previously reported that Donald Trump had proudly said his youngest son has an incredible knack for technology. What may have been merely a father's praise was now seen in a different light. Speculation arose that Barron was getting ready to reveal his role in his father's strategy, whether that meant serving as a conduit between Trump and Elon Musk or shaping the future of global technology and economics. Were these tears a reflection of a grander scheme, one in which Barron was not only the youngest son but a pivotal figure in the Trump empire? Despite the public perception of him sobbing uncontrollably, nobody could say for sure what had shaken him. No matter how many times Reuters and other credible news organizations disproved the ex-post, the mystery of why Barron stayed mute and, if the message was real, why the supposed announcement never happened, remained unanswered. Barron, who has always been reserved, decided to step away from the limelight. However, this decision did not satisfy the public's curiosity. In fact, it made his story even more mysterious, like a book that was left unfinished in the middle of a chapter with a lot of unanswered questions. Amidst this hush, another figure began to emerge. Melania Trump, the beautiful and unassuming mother who had been Barron's rock. Melania was known for her protectiveness of her youngest son, which became relevant to his absence. Following the storm of rumors, many thought that Melania had stepped in and shielded Barron from the unwanted attention. Maybe she had seen his tears, real or imagined, and decided that her son's rumors about Barron persisted even after Melania's intervention. Some thought he was planning to reveal something big, a secret that would reveal the inner workings of the Trump family. Newsweek had already covered the idea that Barron had ambitions in real estate, where Donald Trump had built his empire. Was he planning to become the next generational leader of the Trump organization, just like his father? Or was he planning to strike out on his own, away from the immense scrutiny of his family? With his impressive height, intelligence, and technological prowess, qualities that his father had proudly touted, it was obvious that Barron could become a major player in business. But if that were the case, why did he abruptly stop? As the intense storm of rumors subsided, from the sobs at the inauguration and the emotional moment at NYU to the shocking made-up post on X, it seemed like Barron had found some solace in his own shadows. But even as he tried to blend in with the typical life of an 18-year-old student, the shadow of the Trump family and the persistent whispers remained. Barron was more than just a young man. He was a mystery, an enigmatic figure that the world could not stop examining. In a family where each member had made their mark, from Donald Jr.'s political aspirations and Ivanka's business savvy to Eric's unfaltering allegiance, Barron stood out. He avoided public appearances and never stood by his father during White House press briefings. However, in an unusual moment of sharing with People.com, Donald Trump spoke proudly of his youngest son, commenting on his interest in politics. That brief, suggestive statement fueled speculation that Barron was not just a shy student at NYU, but rather he might be subtly preparing for a bigger role, maybe emerging from the shadows to carry on his father's legacy. His father's health, a third presidential run, and secret projects with Elon Musk were all topics of rumors. Barron, the ultimate secret keeper of the family, said nothing to confirm or deny the speculations. But his deep-set eyes, towering height of nearly 6'7", and the old soul that his mother had praised all suggested that he knew more than he let on. Was he learning, observing, and waiting for the right moment? Or was he just a young man caught up in a narrative that wasn't entirely his own making? Trump, the Barron, was not hastily emerging from the shadows. He turned himself into a symbol of a complicated heritage by opting for his own time and his emotions, whether genuine or only rumored. The role he could play in Trump's story and his future were both left as ellipses, with limitless potential.